CityCast from Explocity.
Jesus H. Christ.
For God's sake, Martha, it's 2:00.
Oh, George.
I'm sorry, but
What a cluck you are.
it's late, late.
What a dump. Hey, what's that from? What a dump.
How would I know what?
Oh, come on. What's it from? You know.
Martha.
What's it from, for Christ's sake?
What's what from?
I just told you. I just did it. What a dump. Huh? What's that from?
I haven't the faintest idea.
Dumbbell. It's from some goddamn Betty Davis picture. Some goddamn Warner Brothers epic.
I can't remember all the pictures.
Nobody's asking you to remember every single goddamn Warner Brothers epic. Just one single little epic. Betty Davis gets peritonitis in the end. She's got this big black fright wig she wears all through the picture, and she gets peritonitis. And she's married to Joseph Cotton or something.
Somebody,
and she wants to go to Chicago all the time because she's in love with that actor with the scar. But she gets sick and she sits down in front of her dressing table.
What actor? What scar?
I can't remember his name, for God's sake. What's the name of the picture? I want to know what the name of the picture is. She sits down in front of her dressing table and she's got this peritonitis and she tries to put her lipstick on, but she can't, and she gets it all over her face, but she decides to go to Chicago anyway.
Chicago.
And
That's what it's called. The film's called Chicago.
Huh? What is?
The picture. It's called Chicago.
Good grief! Don't you know anything? Chicago was a 30s musical starring Little Miss Alice Faye. Don't you know anything?
Well, that was probably before my time, but...
Can it? Just cut that out. This picture. Betty Davis comes home from a hard day at the grocery store.
She works in the grocery store?
She's a housewife. She buys things, and she comes home with the groceries, and she walks into the modest living room of the modest cottage Joseph Cotton has set her up in.
Are they married?
Yes, they're married to each other. Cluck. And she comes in, and she looks around, and she puts her groceries down, and she says, "What a dump."
Oh.
She's discontent.
Oh.
Well, what's the name of the picture?
I really don't know, Martha.
Well, think.
I'm tired, dear. It's late, and besides...
I don't know what you're so tired about. You haven't done anything all day. You didn't have any classes or anything.
I'm tired. Well, I'm tired. If your father didn't set up these goddamn Saturday night orgies all of the time...
Well, that's too bad about you, George.
Well, that's how it is, anyway.
You didn't do anything. You never do anything. You never mix. You just sit around and talk.
What do you want me to do? Do you want me to act like you? Do you want me to go around all night braying at everybody the way you do?
I don't bray.
All right, you don't bray.
I do not bray.
All right, I said you didn't bray.
Make me a drink.
What?
I said, make me a drink.
Well, I don't suppose a nightcap will kill either one of us.
A nightcap? Are you kidding? We've got guests.
We've got what?
Guests.
Guests?
Yes, guests. People. We've got guests coming over.
When?
Now.
Good Lord, Martha. Do you know what time it is? Who's coming over?
What's their name?
Who?
What's their name?
What's their name?
I don't know what their name is, George. You met them tonight. They're new. He's in the math department or something.
Who are these people?
You met them tonight, George.
I don't remember meeting anyone tonight.
Well, you did. Will you give me my drink, please? He's in the math department, about 30, blonde
And good looking.
Yes, and good looking.
It figures.
And his wife's a mousy little type without any hips or anything.
Oh.
You remember them now?
Well, yes, I guess so, Martha. But why in God's name are they coming over here now?
Because Daddy said we should be nice to them, that's why.
Oh, Lord.
May I have my drink, please? Daddy said we should be nice to them.
But why,
Thank you.
But why now? It's after 2 o'clock in the morning and...
Because Daddy said we should be nice to them.
Yes, but I'm sure your father didn't mean we were supposed to stay up all night with these people. I mean, we could have them over some Sunday or something.
Well, never mind. Besides, it is Sunday, very early Sunday.
I mean it. It's ridiculous.
Well, it's done.
All right. Well, where are they? If we've got guests, where are they?
They'll be here soon.
What did they do? Go home and get some sleep first or something?
They'll be here.
I wish you'd tell me about something in some time. I wish you'd stop springing things on me all the time.
I don't spring things on you all the time.
Yes, you do. You really do. You're always springing things on me.
Oh, George.
Always.
Poor Georgie Porgy, put upon pie. Oh, what are you doing? Are you sulking? Huh? Let me see. Are you sulking? Is that what you're doing?
Never mind, Martha.
Oh.
Just don't bother yourself.
Oh. Hey. 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 Who's afraid of Virginia Woolf? Virginia Woolf, Virginia Woolf. Oh, what's the matter? Didn't you think that was funny? Huh? I thought it was a scream. A real scream. You didn't like it, huh?
It was all right, Martha.
In old Bangalore, when you drove past the airport on the largely deserted road towards the suburb of Whitefield was a farm, with trees and chickens and stuff that farms have. It was owned by a couple whose voices were instantly recognizable as the principal voices of the English language stage. Arundhati and Jagdish Raja, their farm was called Jagriti. Today, the road is far from deserted, and in the place of the farm stands a theatre, a beautiful auditorium in what should be described as a center for all things cultural and literary. The theatre retains the name of the old farm, Jagriti, but if there are any chickens there, I dare say, they aren't running free on the range or anywhere else. I called Runa and Jaggi Raja the last Shakespeareans of Bangalore. But now, who is a Shakespearean, some people ask. I mean, who among us doesn't know what Platonic and Aristotelian and Einsteinian mean? But what's Shakespearean? Let's see. To me, anyone who has read a few plays of Shakespeare, has acted in a play, even in school, bristles at the mention of Francis Bacon and never finds the need to refer to him as the Bard of Avon, is Shakespearean. One wag described being Shakespearean as a modern sonnet with 3 quatrains and a punchy couplet. Well, replace punchy couplet with punchy couple, and it makes me proud to be able to present on my show the first couple of theatre, Runa and Jaggi Raja. Welcome to the Literary City.
Thank you. Hello, everybody.
Thank you.
The bit that you just did was from Edward Albee's Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf? Chilling. Now, the movie version was played by Richard Burton and Elizabeth Taylor. So, Runa, let me start with you. What does it feel like to be Elizabeth Taylor?
Yeah, we did this production way back in 1984. And we chose this piece because it's one of our kind of favorite productions, a bit of an iconic production for our theatre company. Then I think it's a fabulous play. Going back to it now, it kind of brought it all back. So I'm not sure, of course, I can't match Elizabeth Taylor, but I loved doing it. It was the toughest role I've ever done.
I know this to be one of the longest plays. How long?
It goes on for 2.5 years. No, we edited down to 2.5. The actual play goes on longer.
And you guys were gripping in that production. But Jaggi, could that play have been produced today?
Before I answer that, Namji, let me just tell you 2 things. One is George and Martha. in the play are George and Martha Washington. Albie was hitting right at the top, a side swipe at, And of course, we used to rehearse the play in town and drive back to the farm. We'd rehearse it, we'd get in the car, and we'd drive back, not saying a word to each other. George and Martha were very much in character throughout the ride back.
That's driving method acting to a complete new high.
Yeah.
I dare say that if you tried that in present-day Bangalore traffic, you'd have other people to yell at.
Yes.
What's at the core of this play?
It's about a married couple not getting on very well with each other.
Right.
And they have created this shared dream that they both invest in to take away the attention from each other. It's as simple as that.
So, in its writing, as long as there are married couples, this play will always be relevant?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that, good writing like this, I think it's eternal. And there will always be something that someone can take away.
For a number of us, the joy of theatre is in the literature, the language, the script. But you can watch a play only so many times for that reason, as much as you can listen to the same joke over and over again, right?
Yes.
But how is it for an actor? How do you deliver the same lines? Do you ever get jaded?
No, not for a stage actor. Not for somebody who is practicing theatre. No. The day you're jaded, you're dead. It has to be fresh.
And how do you keep it fresh?
Yeah.
What I do when I direct a play is I gather the cast together and say what you are going to think about tonight you've never thought of before. What you're going to say tonight you've never said before. What you are going to hear tonight you have never heard before.
Yeah.
It's so much, acting is so much a thing of listening. It's a question of reacting to what has been said. And the other thing that you made point of, 85% of stage acting is verbal, is vocal. You see what you see, the door opens and shuts, etc., etc. But you have to listen. It is an intrinsic part of an audience getting involved. They have to listen.
And Runa, do you echo that?
Yeah, absolutely. For all of us as actors, and what Jagu just said about telling actors when you're directing is exactly this. It's like a new thing for you. I've been asked so many times, oh, you must be able to just get on stage without being nervous, without worrying. I never do that. I'm quaking at, in the wings as much. And the day I don't, or the day anybody doesn't get nervous, go back.
And do you see the audience as part of the action?
Maybe people don't realize as an audience member how much the audience are like one, it's like this big organism for us as actors on stage. We sense whether people are with us, whether they're not with us. You get that if there's absolute silence, you can tell whether it's silence because they're just, listening to everything you're saying or watching what you're doing, or whether they're bored out of their minds, And it is, the audience is like this entity for all of us. And it's new every time. It's a new audience every time. We've said before, we'll get Sunday afternoon or Saturday evening audiences, we'd say, in the early days. Oh, yeah, everybody is ready to laugh. They're having a good time. They're all ready to go out for the evening. And then you'll get a Sunday afternoon, very quiet kind of audience. It doesn't mean they're not enjoying it, but it affects the way you react and act on stage. That's what makes it live and new and different.
So can you also sense when the audience is, say, not getting it, maybe because their comprehension levels are not that great?
You can. Because it's group energy that's emanating from the darkness of that side of the theatre, that side of the space. And it does come to you.
So when that happens, what do you do? Do you push harder?
Well, I think we step it up a bit. We have to.
Yeah.
Because if we are losing them, we've got to get them back into the palms of our hand.
Runa?
Yeah, it depends on the play, of course, right? Because there are some times when you may be able to pull them in or try a bit harder. and there are times when you can't. Just this word on this comprehension of words, I wanted to just mention something, because we recently did this reading of another iconic play, The Crucible by Arthur Miller. And I mean, I directed it as a reading, and we were all worried, actors and me alike, of how that would come through. It was amazing. The audience was just with everybody all the time. But then, in terms of comprehension, why I said this, there are certain words that are used because it's used in the old language, because it's set in Massachusetts in 1652. It's 1692, of the witch trials.
Mm-hmm.
So the way they speak has this old pattern to it, and they use words like, which are considered bad words now in modern times, right? I'm not sure whether I can say those words.
Go right ahead. There's no censor here.
Yeah, no. So there were words that would be used like whore and a bitch, a witch is bitch, but they would not be used, or the word woman would just be used woman, meaning just you're referring to them, not woman, don't do that, not like that, but woman, don't do that, used differently. And I noticed, because I was sitting in the audience, was the difference in reaction. To the older members of the audience, they just kept on listening. But to the younger members of the audience, I heard this little, there'd be a little giggle, there'd be a little nudge, I could see, but then they were back into it. So there's a difference in comprehension of the way the language and words are used.
Salem witch trials, always interesting.
Yes.
Now, let's talk about Jagriti. Jagriti is not just an amalgam of your names, but it is the culmination of a life's effort in theatre. From your perspective, is Jagriti everything that you wanted it to be?
Oh, shall I go first? I go first. And no, we're totally happy. Obviously, I mean, it's something that all of you or others, other friends who've known me ever since we've been doing theatre, we've been talking about having a space of our own. And it was great to finally, be able to do it. It was this dream that we already had. And it's wonderful because I feel we're very lucky. It wasn't an easy journey to get here, but I feel that there are not many, it's not often that people are able to have a lifelong dream like that come true, right? So I feel we're lucky that way. And I think that even with the problems in the last 2 years, etc., I think that we've become a space that is definitely, constructive towards theatre of all kinds, new work, new theatre, etc. So definitely happy. But I think Jagu has a way of saying something.
No,
Let me qualify the question before Jags jumps in.
Yeah.
Okay.
Happy about it for yourselves, I understand. Jagriti is your dream and you're living it. I get that. My question is, are you happy about achieving everything that you set out to achieve?
Yes, because in these last 11 years that we've been going, we've been host to a variety of performers, very, very well-known performers. A concert pianist from Japan, a theater company from Arizona, various of our own local domestic companies who've come and performed. And all of them going away and saying, what a beautiful space it is to perform in. They've all gone away very happy for having performed in Japan. I think for that reason, we're happy. But the other aspect, which I think is very, very worth talking about, is that not the theatre space, but Jagriti is also home and has been home now for several hundreds, if not thousands, of performers who come in for the Trinity College London drama and speech exams. We've been going that for a long time. And today we're running 9-month courses of training in Jagriti for 100-odd students every year. So we're giving youngsters an opportunity. There's obviously a lot more we can do in this area, and we're working.
Those would be the good ones, yes. But as fiercely committed professionals, do you fear that mediocrity somehow slides in the name of amateur theatre?
Let me come in here very quickly, Ramji. The word amateur is based on the Latin amatori, which means lover. When Sachin Tendulkar walks out to the crease, he's doing it for the love of it. When we get amateurs on stage, they're doing what they're doing for the love of it. It has nothing to do with quality. It is because they love doing what they're doing.
Okay, yes. To be quite honest, I think we need to say this because when we first opened, theatre did go through a point where I think a lot of work was coming up, which I believe should happen with maybe younger groups or people who've not had a chance to do theatre but always wanted to do it. And I feel that the problem with quality was simply because there was really nobody to watch them and tell them, look, go at it this way. There was no real director who was experienced. And therefore, then the audience that they were getting were mainly family and friends. Now, family and friends are not going to give you real critical feedback, right? But I would say that as when we first opened, we got some applications for rentals, etc. And honestly, some of the work was not up to the mark. But on the whole, I would say that this has got better. It's improved because people have realized when you come to a space like, say, Jagriti, you've got 52 lights, you've got the seating. It's a professional space. So you cannot come in there and do, half-baked work. And it has improved, really, generally.
Now, as decades-old theatre-goers in Bangalore, we all sense that there has been something of a dip in the quality of theatre. And I do understand that all the productions at Jagriti are not yours to control, but if you could control them, what would you have them do differently?
The thing is, Ramji, from the time you're saying about the plays that we all used to do, theatre has changed, right? In those days, we would have the full box set with a room, with the sofa, with everything all done up. Okay. And if you had that, then if you just had a little bit of up and down in your acting, it wouldn't show as much as if you're doing a kind of play which doesn't give you this whole backup of a set, right? Where you're using maybe just lighting and you're using just, say, various bits of pieces of furniture or maybe a box or a cube or whatever. The point there is that unless that lighting is really good, unless all your actors are really good and take the light, not halfway, half off, which often happens, and what you're giving as sort of a suggestive set really is suggestive and good for the script, that's when things go by the wayside.
Now, Jaggi, going back to something that we agreed upon earlier, words are central to theatre. Does that not presume that a good grasp of English is required for theatre professionals?
Very much so. Very much. Because I think, it's not only the language, it's the rhythms, the syntax. And as I've said earlier, the quality of acting is the quality to be able to listen. What is the other person saying? Now, that one line, stressed differently, will, from an actor, get you a different response. So you've got to be able to know the language very well. Apart from diction and pronunciation and all the rest of the techniques, you've got to be able to understand the language.
Right. And Imot, the idiom. A few years ago, just before the pandemic, I went to see a play, and I regret doing this, because the actors, they tried very hard, but they just couldn't get the idiom. They couldn't get the language. It's not just a matter of the pronunciation of flipping the V's and the W's, but they said everything in the wrong way. The idiom was spoken incorrectly.
Yeah. I mean, this comes back to what I was saying. It's verbal. Finally, it is verbal. It's what you hear. And if you're hearing a mismatch between the words and the way they're said, it's excruciating. Because obviously, they haven't got the meaning of it.
Runa, what is your take on this?
The audience has also changed, right? And yes, people's English and the approach to it has changed. In many ways, there are many English plays which we really wouldn't do anymore, like an Alan Ayckbourn or whatever. They wouldn't be, they would not be understood, and nor would they be enjoyable, even for us to do.
I hear you.
Following on from what Runa has just said, since we arrived here, I said, we could do an English play written by an English playwright who lived up in Scarborough in Yorkshire, which many of these Indians wouldn't know where the hell that was. And we'd get a full house, we'd get an audience. Today, you've got Mahesh Dattani, you've got Gautam Raja, you've got Ram Ganesh Kamatham, who are writing in English about Indian happenings.
Okay, and see, I have to say, and you'll be familiar with this, is that Mahesh Dattani, was the one that really began the new English writing.
Yes,
right? In
that's
India.
true. Yes.
Okay, absolutely. He wrote off those 5 plays. So we're looking at a lot of Indian writers. And I think perhaps we need to do more of those.
And Runa, how is that relevant in terms of language?
I think there's a generation who, because people aren't really speaking to each other, right? It's all, on the digital, this thing. So this thing of language is going down, and we see it now already. How the use of words has gone down in terms of, because it's a quick, everything is a quick fix. And therefore that has shown in some ways where people now they talk about, there's a difference, all right? There's this text-based work. So I kind of have this thing about, I'm saying, what is this text? We talk about a script, right? It has dialogue in it. Whether it's a monologue, it's still someone speaking.
It's nice of you to be gracious and generous to newcomers, but let me ask you, would you get up on stage and deliver lines that you don't really understand?
No.
No.
I didn't think so. In the same vein, have you heard about this one where the journalist goes to Mexico City to interview this great Mexican Shakespearean? He walks into the actor's study and finds a very forlorn Macbeth practicing the soliloquy. Tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow creeps in this petty pace, and so on. And the journalist is moved by this performance. And then he asks him his first question. He says, how did you come upon being a Shakespearean? And the man looks at the journalist and says, Lo siento, por favor, señor, no hablo inglés.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And now to the next part about bad grammar. So much of it going around everywhere. Let's start with you, Runa. What is your pet peeve?
Oh my God. Actually, there are many, Ramji.
One.
Oh, revert back. Oh God, there are lots.
No, the other one is the word would. Would. W-O-U-L-D. It is often used for the word will.
What a bizarre use of the conditional, right?
Now, will, a bunch of so-and-so on the board of directors. It'll often read so-and-so, so-and-so, so-and-so would be on the board.
Yeah.
Would be if they were what? Midgets? Would be if they were bald?
It's the conditional. Yeah.
It annoys me so. And what gets me is, Ramji, seriously, when I was in Bombay, the sub-editor at the Indian Express knew the concise obsolete by heart. That's the quality of it. And today you've got people saying would when they mean will.
Now, speaking of audiences and comprehension, have you found audiences to be the same everywhere that you have traveled?
I interviewed Brian Cox, who's now head of Succession. Brian Cox was in Bangalore as Macbeth. And I said, Brian, you've been to Bombay, Delhi, Calcutta, Madras. Any regional differences? So he said, oh, I'm glad you asked me that. He said, Bombay, a lot of coffers and shuffles. Delhi, they were very, very, very sterile.
Yes.
Calcutta, they were very intense. Madras, they were saying to play along with us. This is Macbeth.
The whole audience.
The whole audience is saying all the lines.
You opened the segment by doing Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton, at least their characters. Anyway, they both were great Shakespeareans, as were all of their contemporaries at one point in time. It is my theory that so are you. I call you Bangalore's last Shakespeareans, and I want to prove it. Jaggi, without thinking, what is your favorite literary quote?
And this above all to thine own self be true, then 'tis follows as the night the day, thou canst then be false to any man.
And you, Runa, same rules. Please indulge me.
Oh Lord, what fools these mortals be.
See, round one to me. Jaggi, Polonius from Hamlet.
Yes.
And Runa, Puck from Midsummer Night's Dream, correct?
Yes, yes.
Now, at Jagriti, on your office doors, while normal people would say no admission, You have something literary on them. What do they say?
The box office door says, "Go to hell for an eternal moment or so." And Jagu, you read the second one. This is on the main office.
"Out, you green sickness carrion! Out, you baggage! You tallow face!"
Merry Wives of Windsor and Romeo and Juliet. I win. You're Shakespeareans.
Okay. We had, I have to say, when we first had them up, a couple of people came and laughed and said, "Oh, this is great, Shakespeare." And then one person, I still remember this, came and said, "Excuse me, can I just ask you about this? It reads very rude," they said. So I said, yeah, yeah, it's a Shakespeare quote. And honestly, he has lots of very rude things in his plays. He's, yeah, really good stuff to look at and laugh. Yeah. So
If you had to stage a Shakespeare play literally tomorrow, which one are you ready to do?
it probably might be Macbeth. I know it's one that most people, is
You don't
very
even
popular.
mention the name.
Is very popular, but I would, yeah, you're not supposed to mention the name. So yeah, I'm not doing it now, but when I do.
When you do, it will be the Scottish play, correct?
The Scottish play,
Scottish
yes.
play.
Great. And now that audiences are coming back to theatres, can we expect a full season from Jagriti?
Yes, absolutely. Lots of ideas, and we've got lots of ideas on programming, lots of looking at collaboration, spaces for new work for people to help performers and writers. It's what we need to do post the pandemic. It's not just about getting help for our infrastructure, but basically to help performers and writers and people to find a space with us to try and develop their work. That's really what we want to do, to become a resource place.
And there will be a link in the podcast description so you can find out how to get in touch with Jagriti.
Yes.
Now, in conclusion, Jags and Runa, thank you so much for...
Before you close,
Yes,
Ramji,
that's me.
I believe is 30 years of Explocity.
Yes.
Oh, 33.
Congratulations. 33.
33.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you.
And we're looking for actors.
Uh-huh.
So we'd love to see you as Othello.
What? Are you for real? I'm too petrified to be an actor. But I am deeply honored that Jagriti would do that for me.
Congratulations, Ramji, on this
All the
33
best.
years, because we talk about how many years we've been going, etc. But 30 years, Explocity, it's absolutely brilliant.
Thank you
Great.
so much. Thank you so much. I'm
So-
touched that you would say something like that.
Oh, my goodness.
And thank you for being on the Literary City. This was such fun.
Thank
Thank
you
you
so
for having
much.
us.
It's been great
Thank you.
fun, Ramji. Thank you.
The first couple of theatre in Bangalore, Arundhati and Jagdish Raja. What a pleasure it was to talk to them. And I will be back with our fun segment, What's That Word? Stay tuned. And I'm back with that fun segment, What's That Word? Where we look at words and phrases that we use all the time, but never stop to think about. And to help me with it is my co-host, and as always, I will let her introduce herself because she does it very well. Take it away, P.
Hello, I'm Pranati, but you can call me P. That's P with an A, not another E.
Hello, P with an A, no doubt. A stands for arithmetic, your real passion.
Yeah, right. No, it actually stands for absolution,
Oh,
which I will grant you for your sin of unbidden humor.
oh, my sin abandoned. Thank you. I am now free. But keep that jar of absolutions open. Now, to paraphrase Arnold,
Arnold?
to paraphrase Arnold Schwarzenegger, I ain't done yet.
Oh, no, I was afraid of that.
Okay, P with an A, what's the word?
Amateur. In your interview with the Rajas,
Uh-huh.
Jagdish Raja said that amateur meant lover of something.
Yes, he did.
I didn't know that. So we could deep dive into that word.
Sure, okay. Not much deep to dive into, I'll tell you. And here's the short and skinny, which doesn't describe me at all, by the way. All right. So here's the deal. Amateur, the earliest sense of amateur in its usage was someone who has a fondness or a liking or a taste. That's it, someone who had a fondness. And it is connected to its roots. The word came into English from the French word amateur, spelt the same way. So it's really just a word that came into the English, which is still French. But the root of that word is from the Latin, and from the Latin word for lover, and that word is amator, amator, amator. Now, this leads some people to believe that the word is properly used only in the sense of someone who performs something for love rather than for money. But, as is the case with so many words in the English language, it just, a word can mean two amazingly different things. And in this case, it refers to someone who does something just for the love of it, and also means someone who is not very competent at doing something. And by inference, it means they are not able to earn a living from it.
But isn't making a living of amateur stuff illegal in most countries?
I guess so, as they would say in the French, touchy.
And in any case, we girls don't really want any amateurs in our amateur, I'll tell you.
That's funny. Anyway, there's not much of etymology to go by, but there's one interesting reference. Now, the earliest record of the word's literal sense is first from 1777, according to etymologists who say things that nobody can prove. But by 1790, it was already being used in the condescending kind of sense. And one example is this guy called George Rouse, or is it George Rouse, R-O-U-S, whatever. I'm going to say Rouse.
Okay.
George Rouse's description of Edmund Burke, the famous Edmund Burke, as a bystander, a mere amateur of aristocracy, in his book, Thoughts on Government.
Right.
As an aside, this George Rouse guy, he was a British lawyer and he was a politician who was he was a member of the House of Commons for a while. And his dad was the director of the East India Company.
That's interesting.
So that's about the depth of it. And Jaggi is right. I mean, in the sense of theater, an amateur theater person is someone who does theater for the love of it, not because they want to make a living off it. So it works completely fine in that sense. But I wouldn't be so quick to start calling anyone who loves doing anything an amateur. And if you do, keep a safe distance from them for fear of being struck on the nose. That's what Chris Rock actually mumbled to Will Smith under his breath, "You amateur." And everyone thinks it's because of his wife, Jada, but no, it's because of... And
he deserved that.
Well, there you go. So, basically Latin, amo, amas, amat.
Hey, what's amo, amas, amat? I've heard that reference.
It's a Latin conjugation for the verb love, So amo, amas, amat is I love, you love, he loves, and it goes on in the standard manner.
Yeah. Amo, amas, amat. Hey, here's a challenge. Do me a limerick with amo, amas, amat.
Yeah, you're getting it. That's what limericks are made from. Amo, amas, amat, a limerick with them. Give me a second. Let me just get this right in my head.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Here we go. A young man was walking his duck.
Oh, no.
I'm afraid so. All right, let me start again. A young man was walking his duck when a girl happened by to his luck. She petted its head and looked up and said, "All right, you and I can now hold hands."
Okay. It was quick and even clever, I'll grunt. But wait a minute. It had nothing to do with amo, amas, amat.
I went in a different direction.
That's just absurd.
Well, it's a good limerick, man. Don't you see? That's the way it is. All right. On that note of amo, amas, amat, P with an A. Oh, that's what A stands for. I get it now. Okay. Okay, P with an A. That was great fun. Let's do it again next week. And that's our show for the week. See you again next Wednesday. Till then, have a good one.